Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé. Let's watch.
Benjamin.
So let's take a walk.
Yeah. La conexión que teníamos era muy fuerte por chat, porque teníamos cosas en común, la religión, la familia, y nuestras conversaciones eran muy profundas. Oh, it's dangerous for here.
I've hypothesized about this before, that there might have been some truth to her words over text, that she was actually attracted to him. And something about him coming down there and making it a reality, or the parents being against the age gap or something, really did throw a wrench in the system. And when she had that wrench in the system, she really recoiled, and it made it look like she was never into him. That's possible. Is that what we're seeing? I mean, if that's true, then I take back everything I've said, because if that's true, then I guess they're just negotiating the details of their relationship.
Can I tell you my truth?
Yeah, tell me.
My truth is I still love you. And I always will. Baby, I always will. If God has put us together, no one can separate us. No one can.
Okay, so he's professing his love. On one hand, it's fine. He can't do anything about his heart. He does love her. He has loved her. He's telling her that. On the other hand, Ben, just go home. Like, one, it could be an absolute catfish. Two, is this the sort of person, is this kind of the style of relationship you want to be in? Like, there's been zero romance. Like, not at all. And all weird fighting.
Oh, Benjamin, esto es tan confuso.
You think it's impossible?
No, confuso.
Composo?
Confuso.
Composo?
Yeah. I mean, that certainly looked like mutual consent. Him initiating, clearly. She wasn't recoiling. You could see movement in from her. I mean, because that's one of the questions, right? It's just like, Ben, there's been no indication that that's something that is up for, that she's up for that. So why are you moving in to kiss her? I mean, what are you doing, pal? Okay. Well, what do I know? Maybe they get married and they're happily ever after, and we'll see them on Happily Ever After. I'm confused. She's confused. I'm confused.
I love you.
You're crazy. Really crazy.
I love you so much, baby.
Oh, I don't know. It's just, if I just heard about this happening, we made out last night. But there's something, what is it? It's a combination of things. Everything I said before in terms of like, is this relationship on a foundation of lies? One. Two, I mean, I've said this from the beginning. I will defend age gaps in relationships in the same way that I will defend gay marriage, in the same way that I will defend interracial marriage. There's a lot of stigma about age gaps in relationships that is unwarranted and unfair. Certainly, the same kinds of arguments I hear about age gaps, I would hear about interracial relationships, particularly in the past, but, continued now. I am of an interracial marriage. I have Japanese-American father, European-American mother, and I have heard throughout my life that it's unfair to the children for two races to marry and have kids, because you are setting up a situation where the kid is going to be ridiculed by everyone. And so people would say it's not a good idea. Plus, there's a massive cultural difference. There would always be these statements of supporting basically racism and purity of races and white supremacy, of just like, we don't want those things to happen. So we can't say it's because because white people are superior, because we understand that's not politically correct. So what can we say? Well, we can't say, what about the kids? You're in different cultures. The same things are said about people in age differences. They will say, you're at different phases of life. And it's like, well, okay, but consenting adults can make that choice in the same way that two people from different cultures, Johnny and Ella, can marry each other, and you from the outside can't say you can't do that because you're in different cultures. We understand that, right? Just because you come from a different place in life, just because you come from a different culture, doesn't invalidate the relationship and doesn't give you the right to criticize it. My parents come from different cultures. They married. They are coming up on their 60th wedding anniversary. So everything's okay. People can make choices, and you from the outside can't apply your logic to a situation. Okay. So the same goes for an age difference. I also will say that people will, as a heuristic, will say, well, if there's an age gap, then it must be abusive, because it often is. When you have a 25-year-old and a 13-year-old, it is almost inherently abusive. It's not universal, but it's very close to universal. 99.9999% of the time, it is exploitative. It's harmful to the younger person. And so we just have this heuristic of like age gap, abuse, rejection, and creepy, and all that kind of thing. So when we have adults, you have a 40-year-old and a 30-year-old, it's not the same as a 25-year-old and a 15-year-old. I hope we understand that, and we can see the differences, right? So she is 22. She was 21 when they met online. He is 51-ish, something like that. So on one hand, I will defend it. I will defend gay marriage. I will defend interracial marriage. I will defend age gaps in relationships. The research shows nothing of the sort in terms of what people will claim, that the relationships are doomed, and all. Research does not support that. Okay. Can exploitation happen in age gaps? Yes. You've heard me always say this before, but there's something about this that is I don't want to say what I want to say. I don't want to say. There's something about this that feels off. I'll just say that. But is that because of I've internalized the culture about age gaps in relationships? Is it because there's something about him that just, I don't want to watch him making out with anyone, or the two of them? I don't want to see, because there's a reason why if I was on a bus and these two were making out, I wouldn't stare at them. I would like, oh, okay, well, they're making out. So what is it? Do you know what I'm saying? What do you think is happening? Like, I feel like my entire reaction to this couple is just off, and there's something wrong with me. Because normally when I'm reacting, I have clinical things to say, but all I have to say about these two is just kind of like, ugh, which is, it's embarrassing to tell you the truth, but I don't know, I can't help it.
It's okay.
So we have a second chance?
Yeah.
All right, see what happens. Okay.
No sabía que eso iba a pasar, pero Benjamin besa bien.
Given the landscape emotionally of the relationship, particularly over the past few days, given the age gap, if he wanted to kiss her, it would have felt better to me as an onlooker if it just had a different vibe to it. There was a very assertive, if you will, slash kind of pushy, slash kind of aggressive, action. We don't see any indication of that being a violation for her, but she is kind of shady about a lot of things, so who knows? Maybe she was dying to kiss him. I don't know. But I'm sure people are thinking that I might be getting triggered by the kind of like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then she says, I'm confused. And then he just goes for it. Is that some kind of tip of the iceberg? In and of itself, it's not, there's nothing notable-ish, but is it the tip of the iceberg? And is that, and when we add up all the things that are in that tip of the iceberg, like the fact that there is such a big, because an age gap can be an indication when you are an abusive individual, and either consciously or unconsciously, you will look for people that lack power relative to you, and age can be one of those things. So there's that. And so we put all the, and the way that he just went down to Peru, even though she said don't come, or it's all, each individual thing. It kind of made sense that it was happening, but when we pile all that together, are we looking at someone? Well, let me say this: if you have been abused by someone like Ben in that coercive way, I could absolutely imagine Ben triggering you throughout this entire time. There's a certain attitude. Deep love, I think we can agree that he actually does have those feelings. He's not out to get her. He actually wants to be with her, but there's also a number of ticks in the column of disregard for what her experience is. I love you, I love you, I love you. I'm confused, well, I'm just going to kiss you. Even though there's been zero indication that she's up for that. You'd think you would ask. You'd just say something like, can we kiss? Do you want to kiss? That would, something in the direction of Mike, if you will, Mike and Jimena.
Para su edad pesa muy bien.
Wait, I don't know if she's joking, but I'm just going to say it's a little ageist to say that older people can't kiss well. I mean, what do you think? I would imagine it'd be the opposite, that older people would kiss better than younger people. I don't know, but that's ageist of me. I'm sure age has nothing to do with kissing. Proficiency or compatibility.
That was hot. So what do we do now?
Go to the home.
Go home. All right. Let's spend some time tomorrow.
Yeah.
And let's just start over.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Good seeing you.
Mahogany, just cut your losses. Say, I'm just not into you. Move on with your life. If that's the case. But maybe it's not. Maybe she wants to be with him.
I've never kissed anyone like that. It was mind-blowing. I feel like that was our first step to really making progress in our relationship. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And I'm pretty excited about that.
When we are young and immature and lack experience enough and brain development enough to have deep adult empathy or adequate adult empathy, and we are, say, 13 years old, we largely experience romance and sexual attraction from a selfish, narcissistic place. It's totally normal for us to fall in love or in lust with someone, and we feel this compulsion to be with them, and we don't really care what they think. We just want to be with them. We don't really care if they want to be with us. Now, that doesn't mean every 13-year-old is a coercive sexually individual. Of course they aren't, but we will experience that. And of course, over time, we learn to not be so self-centered. We learn to be, and to prefer that. We learn to prefer people who want to be with us as well, that we don't want to just be with someone that doesn't want to be with us. We want it to be mutual. And we learn from experience. In fact, I imagine a lot of people's first relationships are along those lines, where they're just deeply attracted to someone and they pursue them, and it takes them a long time to kind of get into their head that, oh, this other person doesn't like me as much as I like them. And that equation starts to be included in future romantic relationships. And so, Ben, if I didn't know the age of this relationship, I would guess this was like a 14-year-old relationship where someone was deeply in love, had never experienced, he says he's never experienced love before, he's never experienced a kiss like that before, and everything is like wonderful all the time, even though there's just like so many indications that she just is not into you, or at least not into you enough. And that's okay. when you're 14 because you make mistakes. When you're 51, your mistakes have so many more consequences.
But unfortunately, the end of my trip is coming up. So I'm running out of time to try to solidify that connection and to make it real.
Oh, Dios mío.
I don't know if I'm just reading into it, but the laughter and oh my God, I'm just going to take... So, given my hypotheses, the one that she's been lying from the beginning, it's like, wow, he really kind of forced his hand there, or what's the phrase? Kind of pushed me socially into a situation where, because I was acting like I was kind of into him, and then he just kissed me, he called my bluff. And oh my God, like we just kissed. Okay, on the other hand, oh my God, what a great kiss. I might be falling in love with him. What do you think? You make the call. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.